Hello folks and welcome to the channel, and today on the channel we have another review from the Brooklyn Horror Film Festival. This is a thriller film called Influencer, but does it really bring you the thrills? Find out next in my review. While struggling on a solo backpacking trip in Thailand, social media influencer Madison meets CW, who travels with ease and shows her a more uninhibited way of living, but CW's interest in her takes a dark turn. The film stars Sarah Cannon, Emily Tennant, Cassandra Nudd, Rory Saper, Paul Spurrier, and Justin Sams, and was directed by Curtis David Harder. So here we have another film that is involved with a social media influencer. And I know what you're thinking, Ryan, you've reviewed a lot of films lately, horror and thriller, that are actually involving social media people. And I know I have. And it's very interesting that this is a popular kind of trend right now. And for this film, you have Madison. She is obviously a social media influencer, and she is in Thailand, and she meets up with this girl named CW. She is stuck there alone in Thailand. She ends up getting robbed, and she has to stay longer as she loses her passport. And her boyfriend ended up not going on the trip. He just bailed, and her boyfriend's name is Ryan. And when she actually calls him and lets him know that she won't be there back at home for him to pick her up, he basically just blames her and says that she is being irresponsible and why did somebody break into her whole place that she's staying at, and doesn't really give any care that she actually has just gotten robbed. So she stays a little bit longer and she hangs out with this girl named CW. And you can imagine some things really take a darker turn, and Madison ends up going missing. So there's this mystery as to what happened to Madison. Really, my biggest fear going into this film is, are we going to get beat over the head with this social media aspect of the film? And I would say that we don't get beat over the head with this. I think they actually do something a little bit clever with this film. It's not necessarily a slower paced film, although at points in the film it does have slow points and it does slow different things down in the film. But I think overall, as far as pacing, that the film starts off pretty quickly. And something that's really weird about this film is when we actually get a point in the film where the film is really getting going, at 27 minutes, we finally get a title screen that says influencer and the actors' names. I thought that that was an odd choice. I don't think I've watched a film in a long time that's actually done that. But when we actually get the title and it kicks off and we really get into the meat and potatoes about this film, it does have that thriller aspect to it. Although I will say the negative with that is you already know the person that is actually involved with the girl's disappearance. There really isn't much of a mystery. You know that there is something wrong with this person that actually did this. And I think the other characters throughout this film, they actually know that pretty quickly. They know that this person, they know what they're capable of. And I think once they actually know who this person actually is that committed this whole disappearance of Madison, it really starts to turn in something of jealousy and turns into something about how somebody on social media can really be jealous of somebody that is famous. And at the same time, Madison, you can tell with her demeanor, especially in the beginning of the film, she's not overly confident, and I find this to be a theme amongst a lot of social media influencers and movies, and you can really tell that they really don't have that perfect life, and I think that really goes without saying to real-life YouTubers or anybody really famous in general. Nobody has that perfect life, and you can tell also with Madison, she doesn't have a really good relationship with her boyfriend Ryan, and that's very abundantly clear when she gets robbed, and he doesn't really give a crap that she even got robbed. It's also interesting to me, some of the scene placements. There is one scene that, to me, it seems kind of out of place in a certain point of the film. There is a scene where we get to see a throwback of Madison and Ryan and how they met. And I really thought that that should have been more so included in the beginning of the film rather than the actual part where he is on this search to find Madison. And I think that was just kind of out of place at that point. It really slowed down the film. And there are portions of this film where it's not necessarily a mystery going on, but you're just kind of sitting back thinking, what is going to happen? These characters know who this person that was involved in this whole disappearance of Madison. So why aren't they acting? Why are they sitting back? And I think it's more of so something where they need a little bit more proof, or they need a little bit more to really dive into who the person actually was. Now, as far as kills in this film, I will say that they really aren't the most, I would say, original kills. They work for the most part, but you'll find yourself saying throughout this film, why is the character doing this? And why are you believing this? And it's very apparent that this portion of the actual story, it's not true. How could you believe that certain aspect that is coming out of that person's mouth? You definitely have those kinds of moments. And I do feel like towards the end, when we actually wrap up, it does feel a little bit predictable. I definitely felt like I knew what was going to happen in that last 15-20 minutes of the film. And you do have those questionable moments where you're like, why is the character doing that? There's definitely a lot of questionable moments like that through a lot of the characters' motives and what they're trying to do, because it's like, you already know who the person is at this point, so why are we waiting so long to actually act on it? And it makes the film feel a little bit dragged out a little bit. I get it's a movie and you have to have some type of story, but yeah, there is that predictable aspect that you will kind of have as you get the wrap up of the film. As far as a score for this film, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I think for the most part, it's effective. I think they're using the actual social media aspect. I think they do a pretty good job, and it's not really beating you over the head. And I think for the most part, it keeps you interested. You just have those certain parts where it slows down a little bit and you're like, come on, let's get back into the action. And certain scenes that are a little bit out of place that I think they should have put earlier on in the film. But overall, for a runtime of about 90 minutes, I think it's just right for what this film is trying to accomplish. So a 3 out of 5 is what I'm going to give this film. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on my next review.